Emotionally, the anime stuff really. I mean, Kaiba's tough because there's a lot of anger. Sometimes there's the frustration stuff. It can be physically exhausting. Vocally exhausting would be Dr. Z from Dinosaur King. I play that character too. That was just a stupid idea of me choosing a voice that would make my vocal cords bleed. But as a voice actor, I do anything that involves the skill of being a voice actor. So I do audiobooks, I do narrations, industrials, anything that involves the spoken word. The hardest, I think, emotionally taxing thing I ever did was I was an audiobook. It wasn't even a cartoon. Where it was an autobiography written by a football player who was not very famous, but he played for a bunch of teams. But his whole life, the fact that he was at least semi-successful after his mother was a prostitute, drug user who died, and his sister was killed, and grew up in gang violence, and I had to narrate as if I was this person. It was a real person. And as you tell the story and you're truly immersing yourself into the character, you become them. So there were times where I had to stop reading because it was just because I didn't know his story ahead of time. A lot of actors will read an audiobook before they start recording. I don't have the time to do that. I just don't. So I was discovering this. I knew the summary of his story, but I didn't know every little piece of it. So as these pieces, these heavy moments would hit, I was discovering them the way that a listener would discover them. So there were times where I had to stop because it just was too much. I'm not what they call a method actor where, you would have to call me Kaiba on the set. You have to call me Kaiba during this convention. Yeah, I'm just saying, Mr. Kaiba, yeah, when I have time. I play the role. And then when I'm done playing the role, I'm back to being Eric Stuart and, playing music and hanging out with my dog. So I try not to just let that stuff affect me, but as an actor, it always will. It always will. These things, you can't play these roles and not feel connected to them. Even as silly as someone like Brock. There's moments where you're you feel bad for the guy. Like, why can't he get a date? He cleans, he cooks, he's very sweet. He's not necessarily subtle, but he's not a bad guy, So, I mean, you feel for these guys. I mean, anyone who's been a 15-year-old boy in school and who likes shiny things, right, and is distracted by them, girls, right, can relate, right? Yeah. So here's a question for you. Why do you think we called the rice balls jelly-filled donuts? It was donut day, by the way. I got to stand up because I have terrible sciatica, and if I sit any longer, I'll never be able to walk again. Why do you think we called them jelly-filled donuts?
Because of culture.
Culture, right. Because when we do an adaptation for a show that's specifically Japanese, right? The food, names, things like that, and we redub it, it's then also relicensed around the world. Like, any country that spoke English grew up watching my version of Pokemon, right? But in France, there's a French actor, right? And he's terrible. No, I'm just kidding. Germany, things like that. So the food references need to be generic, not specific. Rice ball, Japanese. Donut, probably 80% of the world knows what a donut is, right? And maybe kids eat them in more places. So if someone was redubbing it in France, they might say it's a croissant or like a cruller or something like that, but it will be related to the donut, not why are these kids eating rice balls? No, yeah, right? It's like it doesn't make any sense, right? And maybe the Germans like the cruller. That might be better. Yes, no, yes, of course, of course. All right. So yes, but I do like jelly-filled donuts. I like to eat them in reverse, with the hole facing that way, so that when I bite down, I squirt the person I'm with instead of dripping down the front. I never quite understood that. With the technology we have today, why do we need that sort of the access point to get the jelly in and then not seal it back up, right? Shouldn't it be like, I don't know, like an M&M cork? Something you can eat. Because how many of us have accidentally eaten the jelly-filled donut facing, right? Now, if you bite it this way, right, you think it's all going to go in your mouth, and that's fine. It doesn't. You bite it, and you're like, and then you're like, how did that come? What, did it come out of my nose? Like the sheer, it's like the pressure of it's like, wow! I just shot that jelly-filled donut across the whole room. Now, I think that they could find a way to seal those things up. Look, if we can make chicken McNuggets, we can make a jelly-filled donut that doesn't have a hole in it, right? Bake the jelly in it. Be like, how'd you do that? Shh, secret recipe. Yes. So, how much of a gamer geek am I? Well, okay, so I play with the same three guys. There have been one alternate. The third guy, or the fourth guy, has been two different guys, but the same group of guys. For the last 20 years, maybe? That's how long we've played video games together? Every Wednesday night. We only play games that are co-op multiplayer. No fragging other people, strangers. We don't want that. I don't want that. So it's all mission-based stuff, because what we like to do is see if, as a team, we can accomplish things. Now, if my buddies were more sports geeks like I am, we would play like a season of football or something like that, but they're not. They're not. I'm the only one, I think, who played sports in school. So so we do things like right now we're playing Ghost Recon Wildlands, and we played The Division, and we played all the Tom Clancy stuff and things like that, where, we are, Rainbow Six and stuff like that, where we are doing this stuff. Now, of course, it's all military-based usually with that stuff, but that's fine. We're not all like crazy warmongers, but it has to be co-op multiplayer storyline stuff, because I don't need to prove to some 15-year-old kid online that I can out-frag him. Because to give you a history of how much of a gamer geek Eric Stuart is, I have my Atari 2600 in a box with 50 games. I have my NES. I have my Genesis 32X so that I could play Doom. When the PlayStation came out, before it was called the PS1, I owned two Sony tube picture-in-picture televisions in my house. I lived on one story bottom floor of a brownstone, where in the living room I had one of the TVs, and then there was a little hallway, and then in my bedroom I had one of those TVs. My buddy would come to my house to play Doom with me. We would link the two PlayStations together with the 3-foot link cable, as if people needed to sit that close to each other to play the game together. And I wired the video signal from his game to my picture-in-picture, and my game to his picture-in-picture, so that we could see each other's view on the screen. I have my head-to-head Mattel football game. I have the original Mattel football game. I have the Nintendo Super Mario that opened, the lid opened, and you could play on both screens like that, the handheld one. I've got my PlayStation games. I've got my Xbox games, 360 stuff. I switched over to Microsoft, which was the evil devil for a long time in my world, when Sony decided that a video game system should cost $800 when that PlayStation came out. I was like, and good night. So yeah, I have I have in my entertainment area, my man cave area in my house, these 3 cabinets that the television sits on, that's probably from those speakers to here, and it's not filled. I mean, I have DVDs and movies and stuff like that, but most of what's in there are my video game systems and my video games. They're not all out, because, I'm going to be 50 next year, and I don't need to be like, hi, welcome to my house, here's all my video games. Not that that's not cool. It's more like, hi, welcome to my house, here's all my guitars. See, that's cooler. Yeah, so that's what we play. That's what we're doing right now. We played, today is Friday, so yeah, so we just played Wednesday night, and we played some Wildlands, which is a great game if you're a gamer. Open world, a lot of fun, good DLC. It's awesome. But yeah, don't look for me online because I won't play with you unless I'm telling you, we do not branch out past our core group of guys because we're also all like, old men.